Welcome back to Up the Villa. This is our match reaction for Wycombe Wanderers. 1, Aston Villa. 2, Carabao Cup, League Cup action. We're through to the next round. We'll foil this performance under job done. There we go. Smash a like on this episode. Comment your thoughts. Which young players stood out for you? And subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ryan, how are you?
Very well, mate. Very well. We are in the fourth round of the League Cup for the first time in God knows how long. So, job, like you say, job done tonight and in the hat for the draw tomorrow, mate.
Yeah, I think kind of what we expected, possibly one or two more changes than what I possibly thought. But, we made pretty much 10 changes. It was only Onana that kept in the side that started at the weekend. Average age of Aston Villa's starting lineup was 22. 22, which is absolutely mental. But the team was Gauchi, Costa, Bogard, Swinkles, Matson, Barkley, Onana, Bailey, Young, Buendia, Duran. Justin is here as well. Bonjour. How are you?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good stuff. Right then, being as you were here first, Ryan, what did you make of the performance? How are you feeling? Did anyone stand out for you?
Yeah, I was actually intrigued by the game. I don't know whether it's because my mood, I was quite relaxed tonight. I was quite patient. It was an intriguing first half for me. It was an unfamiliar Villa side, so you expect the fluid play not to quite be at peak of what we're used to. It did feel like we were lackluster, but I'm giving credit to Wycombe for that. I thought their mid-block was excellent in that first
So
half.
good.
Yeah.
Like a brick wall.
And what I mean by mid-block is like they had a high line, their forward line was back, and they just compressed all that space, and it was narrow, and it was really hard for us to get going. And like our two centre-backs, they're looking for balls into the pivot. The pivot's sort of like back to goal and the ball's going back to our centre halves, and then they're looking for diagonals through to the front men, and they're trying to lay balls back, and there was just no room. And Wycombe done really well. So yeah, it did feel a bit disjointed the first half, but I felt like that was because of Wycombe. So and then they were very patient, weren't they, Wycombe? And then they started pinging balls over the top, and we were scrambling around a bit. So I get the sort of reaction on the first half, but I felt calm. It was a nice pitch. It was a pleasant atmosphere, and I thought, we will eventually grow into this. And I was happy at halftime.
Yeah, I thought same as you. Really, I was a little bit frustrated at times with a little bit of our distribution of sort of like Barkley forcing it a bit, and Onana. I wanted them to have a little bit more control, but I think, like you're saying, Wycombe were really good in sort of shutting out the centre of the pitch. They were shutting out and they were blocking the balls to sort of like a Buendia and the outlets into Duran as well. But I think to start the game, it was probably going to be a different game if Duran slots that first 1 minute chance away. I think if that goes in, then it's probably a completely different game. But I think, the pleasing thing for me, the biggest takeaway I can make from this is the average age was 22 of this team. And this team hadn't really played together before, like some of the younger lads especially, and it was, a big occasion for them. And I think they did fine. I thought across the whole game, I thought Bogard was pretty good. I think second half he was a lot better. I think his defending looked better. I thought Caden Young was better in the second half. I think that driving run, I was sort of crying out for him at times to just go for it, just try and beat that player, get to that byline. I thought Gauchi was okay. I thought Costa was fine. Swinkles had a bit of a mare towards the end of the game, but their distribution was okay. And I think this is what we kind of want to see at times. We want to see the young players. I think, I read every comment that comes through on our comment section, and a lot of it is Emery doesn't play youth, Emery doesn't play kids, and we've seen that tonight. And just because some of them might not have had like 10 out of 10 outstanding performances, they don't need to be hammered. They don't need to, be disrespected in their performance. I think we've just got to build on it back them, and hopefully they can build on those performances. So yeah, I think it's pleasing that some of them were on the pitch. And I think Emery's press before the game, when he was speaking about he'll rotate the team, and if we get to the quarters, the semi, then he'll start playing the big hitters, and that's what Man City do. That's what all of the top teams have been doing. So I think I said at the start, job done. I think that's all it needed to be. We're through to the next round. They've done their job. They've got us through to the next round. Let's just move on. And if we see a couple more of them in the next round, or we see them in the Premier League squad, etc., then they're just going to keep getting better and building, because they are really young. So, Justin, how are you feeling? Thoughts on the young kids that played?
Yeah, I thought it was nice to see a load of them thrown in. I was a bit disappointed that my mate Todd wasn't in the squad tonight. I mean, under 21 captain, and didn't get picked. So I was a little bit disappointed, but that's just a personal thing. But I think overall they did okay. It was a banana skin game. There was no win situation here. We either go out and beat them, everyone just says, yep, Villa beat Wycombe, that's what's expected, or we get beaten and then everybody throws the kitchen sink at them. They did okay. I don't think there's a real standout performance, really, from the whole 11, but you get minutes into Buendia. A little bit disappointed with Duran. I think that's only because he didn't really get the service. There wasn't a lot going forward. I mean, first half, I agree with Ryan. I thought we can play really well, and they set up really well, and they frustrated us. But we just couldn't get going that first half. Then second half, we came out, did a bit better, managed to get the goal, and then I think from that point on, it was pretty much game over, wasn't it? Just one of them nights, when the dog just opened the door. It's all right. Yeah, what all that matters is getting through in these early rounds, and that's all I wanted from this game, is to get through to the next round and be in the draw for the next round. We've been knocked out in the third round the last 2 years, and I feel now we will never have a better chance of winning this competition, but we've got to navigate these early rounds, and the only way we navigate them is by throwing a load of kids in and players that are either coming back to fitness or don't and aren't getting minutes in the Premier League. So essentially, all that matters is probably getting through another 2 rounds. So we need a bit of favouritism in the draw. We need probably a lower league opposition in the next 2 rounds. If we get to the quarters, then we start seeing the big boys playing, and then we have a real chance of winning this competition. I know it's not the priority. It's probably 4th priority, but at the moment, there's no FA Cup. Priorities the league, priorities the Champions League. If we can get a decent draw tomorrow night at home to a lower league side, I think we then should progress to the next round. Then we're really in business.
Yeah, I mean, you can even see how sort of Emery's thinking with, it's one thing putting youngsters in the starting lineup, then it's another thing altogether putting the bench full of youngsters. And I think some more youngsters came on. I thought Borland looked pretty good when he came on.
17.
Very. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've got to see a young 17-year-old. We've seen Brogio, Jimo Alaba, Patterson. So, a lot of these players are like getting their first senior appearances for Aston Villa as well. That's a massive occasion for them, and a good testament to the academy, really, because Emery's utilising them. So, yeah, it was a nice first work goal from Caden Young. Like I say, driving forward. And Buendia, tucked it away nicely, a header. I think it was pleasing to see Buendia. I don't think he was at his best, but I think, again, you got to think the injury. It's his first sort of around 80-something minute in over a year, maybe. I know he played that game the other day, but it's it's a different, probably a bit of a different intensity playing in the actual League Cup. So that was a good one. And then I was pleased Duran scored, because what I want Duran to do is keep scoring. And what I didn't want was to get a start, not score. But the fact that he scored again sort of just gives him that little bit of confidence. But I don't think it was a penalty. Ryan, do you think it was a penalty? No.
Nah, I think he's anticipated it. I've only watched it like the couple of times that they showed it, but I think he anticipated it. He left his foot in there and he's gone over. And we know VAR in this competition. It's old school rules, isn't it? And it's what the referee sees in action, and he's giving it, and he's dispatched it away. And yeah, his performance was okay. I thought it was mature. I thought he led the line well. I thought he kept his distances, his space. He didn't get any. He didn't get into any scuffles. You know what he can, he can be like, a little bit immature at times. But I think we're seeing a different Duran where he has matured over the summer and going into this season. And he was very professional tonight, and he stuck to it. And last 10 minutes, he's got his goal and sealed the victory for us.
Yeah, one player that I think my eyes were on a little bit was Gauchi. Now, he's been on the bench as our sort of like number 2, and I was just really sort of looking to see, sort of like zoned in on him, handling, kicking, distribution, weight of pass. Where's he passing to? What's he like in tight spaces? What's he like put under a little bit of pressure? Because I think Olsen, whenever Olsen plays, we do concede a lot of goals. So I was intrigued to see how he did. I think he had one ropey moment when he came for it and it went straight over his head. If that was on target, we were in big, big trouble. But I thought his distribution was pretty good. He made that really good save off. I think it was off the header as well. So that was a good one. I think for the goal, it was blasted at him in it from close range. I think it's a difficult one. But Justin, what did you make of Gauchi? Could I say, would you feel a bit confident if he was to start a game in the Premier League, or do you feel we still have a bit of an issue there, or what you thinking?
It's early days for him, isn't it? He hasn't really been exposed very much to English football a lot now. But I thought up until when he came flying out and totally missed and got underneath that one, I thought his handling was pretty good. He had quite a few shots in the first half to handle, and he dealt with them fairly comfortably. Came out for a couple of corners, took them. I think for second half he made that really good save. I think everything he did pretty well. I think if he hadn't have maybe made that slight error of coming out for it, he looked a bit jumpy after that, and he was sort of patting all the defenders in the back. So I'm all right. I know what I'm doing. He's still a young kid, isn't he? I still think there's a question mark over our reserve keeper status. Still, let's hope that Emi Martinez doesn't get anything that would rule him out for a prolonged period of time. But yeah, I think he's got a lot of potential. When he came and signed for us, I watched a lot of him, and he looks a very, very good keeper. But is he going to get the time to mature and the minutes to mature into an excellent keeper? Just playing odd minutes here and there in the odd League Cup game. It's a tough gig, isn't it, being a reserve goalkeeper, because you've nothing to lose, have you? You come in and you have a bit of a howler, and everyone says, well, he's not good enough. It's one of them, isn't it? He did okay. I think he did okay.
I think one of the pleasing things about him was his distribution, like you mentioned, Luke. Now, I don't really know what type of goalkeeper he was before he got to Villa, but I feel like we're trying to mould him. And like for a young kid to come in and then be asked to beta press away at home in a cup game, like that's a big responsibility. And I think he handled it really well. Now, like I said, I don't know what he was like before. I don't know whether he was a ball-playing keeper or we are trying to mould him. But I thought in that aspect, he played really well. And I'm happy with his performance. Like you say, he lost the flight of that one. But overall, I think it was a very established.
You would think because he was signed by this current coaching setup that he would have had those attributes. Otherwise, they wouldn't have got after him, because the way he plays, Martinez is set the standard, hasn't he? So I think he has got them attributes. It's just, is he going to get enough time to sort of stamp his authority on games? He'll probably get 2 or 3 League Cup games, hopefully, if he have a little bit of a run. But yeah, I mean, if Emery trusts him, I'll trust him.
You even look at Martinez, Justin. Like, he's been reshaped, hasn't he, by Emery and the goalkeeping coach.
Yeah. He's a completely game, hasn't he?
Different goalkeeper to what Emery inherited.
Yeah.
Positive from that.
Yeah, same. I think this is just one of them games where if you win, you've won, and if you lose, it's absolute meltdown that you've gone out the cup. It's just like there's no in between with this game. So it's like, you can be quite mellow, I guess, which is probably what we are at the minute. But yeah, so I mean that's about it, really. Short, sharp, sweet. Got the job done. Through to the next round. Probably going to get Man United away anyway. So.
I think from this game, I think you can appreciate what the first teamers do and what we ask these young kids to try and replicate, because you got the 2 centre-halves there, and yes, they did lose concentration a couple of times and they did give the ball away a couple of times, but what they're being asked to do is replicate what Pau Torres and Konza do, and that's find diagonal balls, find balls through the lines, beta press. That's big responsibility. You look at Caden Young, he's a right winger, but you played him on the left, and to find that half space that Ramsey finds and Rodgers finds, again, it's built over game time, isn't it? And playing with these players, even Onana, like to control games. Like I was looking for a bit more from Onana. Like brilliant all season on transition, controlling a game. He's still very much in that Emery adaptation process, isn't he? And I think Emery was quite emanated on the touchline, and I felt like Onana and Barkley. It was, I'm not going to say a training game, but it was more. They were more focused on their position and shape. I noticed a couple of times they'd lay a ball out and they'd backtrack into their positions and find their shape. So I think there's a lot of work going on with them to fit into this system, because it is a very technical system. So part of me is very pleased with how the shape was, how our positions was, the spacing in between each position, replicated that of the first team. And that was very, very pleasing, because what you want is, if the first team player comes out, one of these lads comes in and does exactly the same job. And that was, I think that was the most pleasing part for me in this game. And like I say, it's difficult to replicate that team, isn't it? That first team.
We get down to the under-21s quite a lot, all of us, from time, quite regularly, really. And I think going to watch them in that environment, which there's very little pressure. It's a lovely place to play football. It's a great pitch. Very few, supporters. There's a decent support goes down there. It's not like a Premier League game or a cup game. So to step up from that to going into like a pretty high pressure game for the kids, because they're being asked, okay, there's your chance. There you go. There's your chance. You've been waiting for this ever since you've come to Villa. You're now in the first team. You're playing a really important cup game. So I think you have to take that into account. They are still very young and they're still learning the game. And they will have learned a lot. And Unai Emery would have learned far more tonight from that performance than he would probably watching 10 games for the under-21s, which is why a lot of them end up going out on loan, because they need first-team football. If to have any idea whether these kids are going to be good enough, they have to play first-team football. But
and also, Justin, you look at the bench, right? And if you're on the pitch, you're looking at the bench going, all right, that's all me under-21 teammates. There ain't no first-teamers on there to come and bail me out. So I've got to
any Ramsey, weren't there?
Exactly, yeah. So
in that first half when we were struggling, I was thinking there ain't a lot on that bench. If we go behind here, there's not a lot to come on and change this game. So ultimately, it's a good performance, I think, overall, given the team and squad we put out.
Yeah,
tricky game, banana skin, we're through.
Yeah, and I think what you're both just saying spot on, really. Like, you can see that, like, the philosophy of Villa and how we play, and it's can filter through past the first team, which I think is absolutely massive, really. So we'll end it there then. We are through. We will start our content on the build up to Ipswich tomorrow. So cheers everyone for watching. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.